All right, guys, we're back at it again. I'm gonna do a what would I do today, and I want to also do this, frequently. So feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, Twitter, any of my social medias, even YouTube for that sake, asking me for this template that I'm gonna look into your situation and actually give you guys good feedback. And what we're gonna do today is take one of my followers' situations, break it down in detail. I'm gonna share all the details with you first, and then I'm gonna show you what I would actually do in their situation based on their goals. So let's walk through this and let's kind of break down exactly what their situation is. Also, really quickly, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give me a follow, make sure you're catching this YouTube content. It comes out every single Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so make sure you're tuned in every Monday for great content. All right, so the situation we got, guys, is this is a 32-year-old that's married in Milton, Wisconsin. They are an accountant. They have 3 children, ages 7 years, 5 years, and 3 weeks. Congratulations on the new one. They have a cash on hand of $23,000. They have retirement assets of $197,000, non-retirement assets of $52,000, and they have 0 non-mortgage debt. Phenomenal. They have $90,000 in income, and with take-home pay, they are about $51.75 per month. Now, their details of their situation, I'm gonna throw them up on the screen of what they have going on with their paycheck deductions. So you'll see that on the screen as well. And then I wanna walk you through the balance sheet, which I kind of mentioned, the first 3 cash, retirement, non-retirement. And then on top of that, they have the home, and there's also a mortgage on their home. And then their expenses, I'm not gonna get into the great detail, but roughly $4,200 or whatever, and those are up on the screen as well now. So what would I do in their situation? First off, I wanna ask them what their goals are. And their only goal for this video was just to invest more, but they're not really sure where to invest. So I'm gonna walk you through the step-by-step direction that I would do if it was me. Now, this is not financial advice because this is just if it was me. And first off, they're in a phenomenal position. So just congrats to that first off. I think you can't mess this up. It's one of those things where we're looking for efficiencies and how to improve upon where you currently sit. And here's what I would do. So based on the situation, they have about $970 left over after expenses, the take home investments, all that kind of stuff. So they have $970, and that's the number that we're gonna work with. So that is their free cash flow number, barring their 5% investment into the 401k currently. Based on that, their cash position is pretty spot on. Their expenses are roughly $4,200. You multiply that by 6, you're right there around the $25,000 mark. They got $23,000, $24,000. I think they're good from a cash position. The only thing I would probably update here would be to separate the emergency fund from your actual cash in your checking account. Typically, a rule of thumb is I do 1 to 2 months of the expenses in a checking account, and then 3 to 6 months of expenses in a emergency fund based on your risk. But you wanna make sure you have the cash flow ready in the checking account, and then obviously in case an emergency happens, be prepared for that. So based on the current retirement contributions, they're around $3.5 million at age 65 if they made no changes. However, the biggest reason, the biggest driver for that is time. And we want to make sure we assess kind of, what's going on with that. And what if the timeline, we want to shrink it? What if we want to retire earlier? Let's put some more funding into retirement funds to make sure that we're on pace for that before 65. And newsflash, you can pull out retirement funding, yes, 401ks, yes, Roth IRAs, before the age of 59 and a half if needed. There's different strategies to do this, Roth conversion ladders, Rule 72T, Rule 55. There's so many different ways. So the first thing I would do is take of that $970 and put $541 a month into a Roth IRA. They don't have one, and I think that's a phenomenal way to start. It's kind of like a fail-proof way to succeed. So Roth IRA, open and fund that entirely. Make sure it's invested obviously within that. And as far as investments go, you know how I like low-cost index funds, ETFs, dollar cost average, all that. And that would be a phenomenal place to start. So based on that, they're gonna be actually at $4.5 million now with new contributions starting there. So their retirement's set. They're good to go. $4.5 million, it's hard to go wrong with that, right? So the other thing I'd like to do is like the HSA potentially or brokerage. Now they gotta be careful. So they are a family of 3. And HSA is a phenomenal health savings vehicle for families or individuals. However, with 3 children, they might be at the doctor a lot, or they might have health conditions of their own. And so you wanna be very careful with that. I'll give you a quick story. With Logan, my daughter, there's a lot of health concerns going on, and we spend a lot in the hospital and doctor visits and unfortunately, emergency room. So with that being said, we are always out of pocket. So we're family of 3, we have an out-of-pocket maximum of $6,000. So we are almost guaranteeing that, hey, with this high deductible health plan to enable that we have access to an HSA, we are expecting to pay $6,000 out of pocket every year at a minimum, because that doesn't include like monitors for her nighttime. We have about 3 or 4 different monitors on her. She wears them. There's video cameras on her so that she doesn't bust out in a seizure when we're not, expecting it. So those costs aren't covered by our health insurance theoretically, okay? And that is covered separately. So we're really out of pocket more than $6,000. Now for families out there that are considering the HSA option, make sure if the worst of the worst happened and you were totally out of pocket, premiums obviously go down a little bit with HSA, high deductible health plan. So you pay less in premiums, but you pay more out of pocket long term. So if this makes sense and you can fit it in your budget, if the worst of the worst happens, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good option. And so technically speaking, they have about $429 left per month after adjusting with the Roth IRA. So they have $429 times 12 months available, which is about $5,148. So, I think the best tax advantage vehicle is an HSA. I think this, I want to open the conversation up for them who's watching this to declare how much, or if this is even the right fit to invest into this HSA. One thing I do with the HSA myself is I pay out of pocket. You guys can check in the top right-hand corner of this video to watch the HSA breakdown if anybody's curious about that, but it's one of the best vehicles out there. And then also remember this, if you do open an HSA, your employer contribution counts towards the max contribution amount, which for singles, $3,850 per year, and for families, it's $7,750, and that's for 2023. So if your boss gives you $1,000 or your job, that counts towards those limits, and a lot of companies do that. So be aware, usually $500 to $1,000 is pretty standard. So number 4 is if, depending on what they decide on this HSA, I think I would consider non-retirement. They have the brokerage as part of their balance sheet, but they're not actively contributing to it. And I think that would be a very, very wise thing to do and consider. But between the additional money of $429 a month, I think the HSA and the brokerage would kind of work together here. I think it's really smart to add both vehicles in a small portion to both, to make sure basically their goals are hit. While the budget does provide really good sinking funds, they have a Christmas sinking fund in there, they have a vacation sinking fund. One thing they don't really have is a slush fund. And I really often, with any client I work with, any student I work with, I make sure they add life in there, right? So either you might go over in categories so that slush fund covers that, or you just have the extra wiggle room if like in that given month you kind of feel you have that urge to go buy something. You've done your due diligence, you're not recklessly spending, but hey, we're not going to live cheap our whole life and live, too frugal. We want to spend some money. So don't be cheap. Don't let your budget restrict you. So adding a slush fund of some sort in here, and us personally, Aaron and I, we use about, $250 to $500 a month in a slush fund. So if we feel like buying something pops up unexpectedly, or let's just say we go over in like groceries, that slush fund will cover us. It builds in that flexibility. It takes away that restriction feeling of a lot of people complaining about a budget being. So let's add a slush fund in this example. So really guys, that is in a nutshell what I would do. So this is gonna say the family's gonna have no bad debt. The retirement is all but covered. There's cash for monthly spend. They fully funded their emergency fund. They have breathing room to live without feeling that restriction feeling that everyone complains about with the budget. They have a solid portfolio. They have a 401k, a Roth IRA, an HSA, and a taxable brokerage likely. And then also they have sinking funds for luxury built into their budget. So I hope this sheds a little perspective on kind of how I would approach the situation. Again, if you want me to detail down your situation, send me a DM on any of my social platforms and say, hey man, I want to do a what would I do episode. How can I send you? I will send you a spreadsheet that has all this information you can fill out for me, and I'll make sure to answer some of your guys' situations. So obviously I have a lot of submissions, a lot of applications, so there's only so many I can do, but I would love to help you guys in any way. Feel free to send that to me, BudgetDog on Instagram, BudgetDog_ on Twitter specifically. Feel free to send it over guys, and I will help you guys out, and I will see you next Monday.